Welcome, everybody, to our second Saturday monthly poetry reading. My name is Dan Kerr. I have the privilege of being your moderator for this session, which is hosted by local poet Kathy Donnelly. If you would like to read one of your poems, then just put your name in chat, and I will call upon people in the order that they enter their name in. Please remember to keep your microphone muted. It's to avoid, out of respect for the other poets, please keep your microphone muted, and it'll make it easier. We won't get the background noise that accompanies when people's mics are on. Feedback is a gift, so if there are things that we do that you like, things that you don't like, ways that we could do a better job, very simple email, danielbkerr@verizon.net. Just send me a note, and Kathy and I periodically get together and review the feedback. We've been doing these virtually since COVID days, and we've kept it. So although we've been doing it for a while, we're always looking to make it even better, and we have made certain changes to this program as a result of suggestions from people. So please don't be shy in providing us with feedback. So I'll get you started, and then I'll turn it over to Kathy, who will read a poem and do the introduction. We're very grateful to have Pramila back today as our featured reader, and then we'll have Pramila, and then we'll have the open read, and then we'll bring Pramila back for an encore, and then Kathy will conclude the program. This program, Kathy always reminds me that people are here for poetry, not for evangelization. We do a whole bunch of things at the church, but I'm just going to bring your attention to three things that we do that the poets do traditionally participate in quite a bit. And one is our concert program. Actually, we have a concert tonight. It's the Voyager Reed Quintet. We'll be performing this evening at Saturdays at 6 program. Inevitably, someone calls and says, what time is the Saturdays at 6? It's in the church at 6 o'clock. That's why we call it Saturdays at 6. We do the poetry, and many of you are here for the first time to see Pramila, but we do this every month, always the second Saturday of each month. So there's a picture of the poets who you recognize. That's when we used to meet in the church. And we also do Native American drumming once a month as well. If you'd like to learn more about these things, just visit the All Souls website right there, or just you can follow up with me, and I'm happy to give you more information on that. But I mention these three things because the poets do traditionally participate in these three activities. So you're all welcome to join the concert tonight, and you're all welcome to come to drumming in the next section. That's actually a misprint there. It's not June. It's actually, that should say July, and it should say July 23rd. So apologize if that's actually the next session. So it's generally the fourth Thursday of every month, and so the fourth Thursday would be July 23rd. Once a year, we bring together the music ministry, the poetry, and Native American drumming. This was something conceived by local poet Carmen Bugan before she moved out to Minnesota. And what this is, we take a combination of sacred poems, and then each of these sacred poems is from various different traditions, is followed by a musical interlude. So you'll recognize the names of many of the poets there. So these are the people who read for us back in 2025. And then what you see there is each of the poems, you'll recognize the picture of the poets up there on the altar. Each poem is followed by a musical interlude, either from the urban organ by Ken Kinney, the organist, or by students from the university, or by our Native American drummer. And this year's program is Saturday, September 5th, and we've already filled all of the spots for the poets to read, and many of you who are reading are on the phone, are on this line, and I appreciate that. We do, you always have to be prepared for a cancellation, so if you're not confirmed as a reader for this year and you'd like to be considered, in reserve, please let me know. Happy to include you, because, things do happen. Occasionally people can't make it. But mark your calendars. It's Saturday, September 5th, and Kathy Donnelly is the one I'm working with this year to actually select the sacred readings. The other thing I'll conclude with this: once a year, we do, and we're going into our 18th year now, we do an annual 5K race, 2K walk called Souls for All Souls. We're going to our 18th year. And this event does two things. One, it celebrates the various ways that we serve the community. And two, what it does is it raises funds to make the church accessible to all. Our mission statement says we meet people where they are, but when Stanford White designed the church in 1896, life expectancy in the US was less than 50 years, so mobility and accessibility was not high on his list. So this actually raises funds to make the church accessible. And we've made a lot of progress in that. We've got over $120,000 in the bank earmarked for the accessibility project. We've got designs from the architect. We've met with the town and the diocese. So we're making our way through all the various hoops to make this thing a reality. And then once a year, what's been happening is, and this has been going on for several years now, we have a group called the Live Poets Society. You'll recognize Barbara, you'll recognize the two Barbaras, you'll recognize Wendy and Dr. Bronson and Kathy. Each year we have a group called the Live Poets Society, which actually marches in the race. And we acknowledge them. So far they've just been workers, but at some point we would welcome anyone who wants to run as well. So if you're interested in that, then I'll send you a little note on how to register for the race. We'd love to have you there. Okay. So again, welcome everybody. And at this point, I'll turn you over to Kathy. Kathy, over to you.
Okay, so welcome everyone. We've got quite a crowd here. That's about you, Pramila. I just wanted to, Dan, remind us both that the poets read their poems. There's no response. Maybe you see someone clapping in the windows if you look up. And so we'll put everybody off mute and we'll give a nice applause, which I think are dying to do after each poem. And that way, Pramila gets to hear that. The poets get to hear that. Not after the individuals, but after the major poetry. Agreed, right? We discussed this, one of the changes we made. Okay. So I was turned on to this lovely book. It's called Embayed, and it was given to me by Pramila, by Usha Akella. And I have a nice poem here it's the first one actually, but I was very taken with it. And it's called Still. The tongue of day tastes many things. The sun is an orange, the moon a grape. The gullet of night knows many appetites. The world's latitudes, blue wine in its throat. Cities of my heart ripen on the vine. Between the press of twilight and dusk, the night grape spills its juice. I ferment, I lament, and sometimes I am joy. Sometimes I am the bottle waiting for wine. Sorrow is dark burgundy, joy is light green mist. Still, the soul is clear. I hear. I just thought that was lovely. And thank you for the book, Pramila. Pramila Venkateswaran, which I'm not saying the way, I would like Pramila to just say her last name for us all to hear. Can you do that? Pramila? No? She says it different.
Pramila Venkateswaran.
Venkateswaran.
Yeah.
Very different than I've been saying it for all these years. Poet laureate of Suffolk County, Long Island, 2013 to 15, and is the author most recently of Exile is Not a Foreign Word, Copper Coin 2024, which won the International Impact Award, and Tamil Dalit Feminist Poetics, Resistance, Power, and Solidarity by Roman Bloomsbury 2024. We Are Not a Museum, Finishing Line 2022, won the New York Book Festival Award in the poetry category. Her earlier books include Thirsta, Uganda 2002, Beyond Dark Waters, Plainview 2008, Draw Me Inmost, Stockport Flats 2009, Trace, Finishing Line in 2011, 13 Days to Let Go, Aldrich 2015, Slow Ripening, Local Gems 2016, and The Singer of Alapi, Shanty Arts 2018. She has performed her poetry internationally, has authored numerous essays on poetics, and won the 2011 Walt Whitman Birthplace Association Long Island Poet of the Year. Her critical essays on Dalit poetry appear in journals such as the International Women's Studies Journal. She leads writing workshops at many writing and holistic health organizations. She is the co-director of Matwala, South Asian Diaspora Poetry Collective, and is professor emerita at SUNY Nassau. This is a busy woman. Oh, and didn't even mention she's the president of NOW, National Organization for Women, which has constantly got some program going of merit. Welcome, Pramila.
Thank
Just
you so
Pramila.
much, Kathy, for your wonderful introduction. And thank you, Dan, for making this reading possible. I'm always delighted to read at All Souls. It feels such like a second home to me. And thank you all for coming here on a Saturday to hear me read. Really, this is quite wonderful. I begin today's reading with an acknowledgement of the land that I'm reading on, which is the land of the settled Cots. And this is stolen land where I have been allowed to live and do my work. So I do acknowledge that. I begin my reading with a poem which is a nod to the 250th birthday of this country. And I use the word biryani, which is a typical South Asian food item that many of you may be familiar with going to some of the South Asian restaurants. American Biryani Solidarity. By dawn's early light, I landed in New York. The skyline, a mirror of Nariman Point. With Bombay in my eyes, I caught a taxi at JFK. The cab driver asked, "Aap Indian ya Pakistani?" "Indian," I said. He laughed, teeth shining in the mirror. "Main Pakistan se, hum bhai bhai." I mirrored his delight. I had to cross 10,000 miles to meet a Pakistani and hear him declare our brotherhood in speeding traffic and stoplights. 40 years since that day, I have friends from every South Asian country in New York than I could dream of in Bombay. Eat a meal from every corner of the world made by invisible brown and black hands in hole-in-the-wall restaurants. Find mementos from disappearing villages, in dilapidated stores in the tunnels of family-owned carts and shops in the boroughs. Meet your romantic partner hailing from a faraway land, sitting beside you in the cafe, asking you for a date. America's no melting pot, but a biryani, a drama in your mouth, a cacophony of tongues competing with subway wheels.
Mm.
The next poem I'm going to read was an inspiration from visiting Turkey to this particular area in Turkey called Izmir about a little more than a year ago. Body language. On the fringes of conversations surging around me in a different language, my tongue is frozen in English. Silence funnels into my body. I reach for words I recognize. Kitab, book, cafe, brand names. I nod and smile, trying not to look demure. Use abhinaya, throw open the 9 gates of emotion. Let wonder, worry, fear, ire, envy, disgust, piety, surprise, and love cavort on my face. My hands aiding me, a language refugee, roaming bazaars and sun-weathered ruins. Thank you, I say to the waiter, touching my heart, as he places aromatic coffee on the table. Beyond the courtyard, the peach dome of a mosque. I expect the muezzin to sing at noon. Remember Haji Ali Dargah, a moon on the bay on my bus rides home from college. In Kolkata, when I was 9, I'd played silently, my ear tuned to my classmates chattering in Bengali, drinking their words until they became mine. In this next poem, I read an essay by the Armenian Palestinian anthropologist Nadira Shadub Kevorkian, who talks about ashla, which is an Arabic word meaning fragments of flesh. The unbearable heaviness of burying ashla. Ash settles on flesh fragments. Nadira Shadub Kevorkian calls ashla in Arabic. Before a city is buried, in the ruins we find ashla. Imagine a daughter finding her mom's wedding ring. See her pick up not just the ring, but her mother's ashla. We never say, when we say never again, we mean we don't want to witness mothers weeping among stones to find their children's ashla. A girl fills her cart with torn flesh instead of toys. She's my sister, she says, a whole sister, not ashla. Spirits of the not yet buried hover over all of us, speaking daily, seamless between our dream and waking. Mourners consider brutal particulars. How do we enter a dialysis tube stuck to ashla? The word's airy syllables settle heavily among clods. When the unimaginable is perpetrated, it becomes ashla. History repeats itself, we lament in despair. But this obstacle breaker prays, let nothing rhyme with ashla. So this poem was written in the ghazal form, which many of you may be familiar with the repetition of the last words in each stanza. I love working with closed forms like ghazal and villanelle and sonnets. This next poem is an ode to Palestine. I have not met you, but I have heard your songs. You lounge between the desert and the sea, lush with pomegranates, hanging grapevines, gardens of angels pouring out melodies that made the British rulers swoon, subduing the guns on jasmine nights. I write these lines for your olive groves, for the 100-year-old tree grandmothering your neighborhoods. Humble, bent over your tatrees and qasida, you invite the world to see beauty's mosaic. Today, I asked my sister, why did we never learn about Palestine in school? She answered, I guess we were so busy shaking off the Raj, we did not hear the cries of our sister in 1948. I now sing to you, my dear, chant the names of your villages and cities, Jaffa, Gaza, Ramallah, Rafah, Al-Quds, Al-Khalil, Jenin, Khan Yunis, Ariha, Bethlehem. Sing to your olives and orange groves, taste your Mediterranean salt, bathe in your tears, carving our wells. So one of the things in Indian history that all South Asians know, and we it is kind of this iconic word that governs particularly Indians, is the word satyagraha, and all of you must be familiar with it. And what's interesting is that satyagraha was a word that deeply connected Indians with African Americans. And as many of you may know, Martin Luther King visited India in 1959, and for the first person who was able to sort of connect with the idea of satyagraha and bring it to the United States. And Nancy Pelosi, in her eulogy to John Lewis at his funeral, talks about satyagraha in her speech. And here is an epigraph from Nancy Pelosi. Satyagraha in Sanskrit means two things. It means non-violence and it means insistence on the truth. And that is what John Lewis was all about, non-violently insisting on the truth. Nancy Pelosi eulogy at John Lewis's memorial, July 30th, 2020. Satyagraha. As he crossed the bridge in Selma, seared by sun, bearing beatings, sand grain stinging split skin, vermilion blooming on black bodies, Lewis pressed on. As the great one in India had persisted stubbornly. Active nonviolence haunted bold young Lewis, bearing white policeman's blows. Lifting his hands to protect his spinning head, he heard the tune of his lineage. We've to keep going on, to keep going on. Scratched black and white photos of yesterday, metamorphosed today into multicolor marches, despite paddy wagons packing dissenters in. Jail doors open, hungry for tenants. But young satyagrahis relentlessly gather in new borders. They know the iron taste of truth. As Kathy mentioned, my latest book is Exile is Not a Foreign Word, and I'd like to read the titular poem, which is called by the same name. To understand exile, you don't have to look further than the family down the street who lost their home and all they owned, including their pets, in a fire or a foreclosure, or the mass of people reaching their arms out to rescuers who pull them out of the water in the sudden hurricane that sweeps the coast where you live, or the birds that drop dead at your feet and you smell the smoke of wildfire blazing through a forest up north. You don't have to look far to understand exile and homelessness. True, you still have a state you claim as yours. But the sensation of being in a vacuum, a dead zone, arises when your name, etched on an identity card or online records, cannot verify your existence. Yes, that too is a reality of anyone who swears by a country, not to mention if your palms are charred and your face alters with hurt. This next poem appeared in the Nassau County Poetry Review many years ago, but it still feels so relevant today as I read it. And you'll notice how the poem moves from despair to light. Square one. Is this bottom? It feels like we are still descending at ear-buzzing speed. Sometimes we fall relentlessly slowly, the threat thrusting its rude point to part life from a throbbing center. But the bottom is still a few stories below. If this is hell, then what's biblical hell like? One human excoriating all humanness from the other and from himself. When bombs rain down on civilians, when my friend breaks down on the phone because he has lost control, when a daughter wilts, when humans turn into torturers, prayers turn to dust. Our lips are cracked, our tongues go soundless. We turn the pages of great masters. We blow out yellow dust from tracts. Breathe, says an old monk. That's all you can do. Transform yourself, says another. Place one foot in front of the other. So we begin from square one. Taste the inhale, then exhale, letting go of bombardment. Open your eyes to take in the form of the other. Wait for recognition. We turn and turn for light. In the next poem, I've taken the title from one of the poems by Mary Oliver called Wild Geese, and she uses the line, soft animal of the body. And I've written this in the form of a villanelle. So you'll hear the repeating lines. Soft animal of the body. Curling into the soft warmth of my bed, I know this is what I long for. Believing in a bed to sleep in under a roof, rain adorned. Safety and comfort when snatched is a war on limbs cold and torn, yearning to curl into the soft warmth of a bed. Body without spirit is like a tent flapping in the wind, cold ground, the sky relentlessly exposing the detritus. Where's a bed to sleep in under a roof rain adorned? Gaze at your family who once you had warmed. Look for geese or any bird or animal migrating, curling into the soft warmth of your breath's bed. Know the imagination you once treasured. Seek out beauty in the familiar that's breaking the once known bed under a roof rain adorned. Know that love exists, that good lies buried despite the forces storming and eroding. Curl into the soft warmth of your breath, a bed to sleep in under a roof rain adorned. And in the next poem, which is also a ghazal, like one of the previous ones, and here the epigraph is from Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, and she says, "As a mother, I hear your cry." Ghazal for mothers who have lost their children to police brutality. And the two references here I make are to Sita and Bhumi Devi, and their Sita is a character from the Ramayana, and Bhumi Devi is Earth Mother. When the law tested Sita, setting her ablaze to judge if she'll fall, Bhumi Devi raged, "Enough, you men with illusory metal, fall." Today, will Mother Earth embrace you as you claim your truth? Delusion breaks as you plunge through air, nothing to stop your fatal fall. Mothers endure their children's agony as bullets rip skin and sinew, but mothers' cries of stop cannot break children's cruel fall. I join your cry, mothers, as you stand bereft, justice long overdue. Your words cut metal. You fling the moon and battle nightfall. You care for every inch of your children, skin, bone, tissue. Their moral fiber you embroider with care to repel any fall. Police unabashed snatch your kin as though you owe dues, adding to their score. They think no peril can befall the giant law, armed and fattened with immunity's glow. Their mothers too witness and endure a triple fall. Mothers, buck up, let's shake off our blues and dismantle laws that thrive on our racial fall. And this next three poems are on gender issues, and it's been recently published in the International Women's Writers Guild anthology. Excoriating shame. How I slouched my shoulders to hide my breasts, swelling under my cotton shirt. My back perpetually curved, my eyes downcast, or quickly sweeping the land to gauge a pervert's eyes boring into my body. How I walked to the store or to school in a rush. How I never allowed myself to loiter like men did, on street corners or outside shops or in playgrounds. How careful I was to make myself invisible. Cover up was a shouted refrain soundlessly painting our flesh with knowledge of our deliciousness and access. Men's eyes roamed, even in our homes, their eyes gorged on women and girls. I dared not look even at the priest who came close to my breath to offer holy water and fruit. Male poets described the goddess as coy, but the goddess I knew gazed fiercely and drew blood. In my world, avamanam, shame, echoed with examples. A cousin lured by a man, a woman pregnant before marriage, a raped woman described as spoiled, as if she were rancid. Avamanam was a gavel that struck women into silence. Real women breathed behind their veils, plotting freedom. Men only knew manam, honor, as women's fault. Women in drought. Almost every summer, my brothers and I lugged buckets of water up 2 flights of stairs to fill large barrels in the kitchen and bath. Our taps were dry. In the sizzling heat, I pumped a pitcher pump in the yard that gushed silver from its iron mouth into red and blue plastic buckets. The weight of water taught me the effort it takes to live. My arms and legs grew strong with the pumping and climbing becoming routine. Madras, always humid, steamed. A young girl, I sweated, lugged and recovered, unconscious of my body's strain or the empty air-filled pipes. But now, Amma, 87 and disabled, parched in summer heat, lives through another drought. She is forced to buy the precious liquid. A lorry fills her tank. A motor pumps water to her taps that trickle brown into a filter. It takes hours to fill a few pots. She boils the water and cools it before it reaches her lips. And this next poem is an ode, and it's to Yoni. Yoni is a Sanskrit word for vagina. Ode to Yoni. You have written yourself into all sacred texts, but I never heard your name at home. I found you in the melody of my body. You are earth sprouting seeds in spring. Vasant is you, spring, luxurious, shaking your hair of rain. You are damp, guardian of the yet-to-be tendrils and blossoms. Yoni, you are the vibration in my belly, goose flesh, my heartbeat, cave hiding a jewel, ice and fire, goddess emerging through doors of yantras I draw and paint. All you, the original energy, Adi Shakti. You flow primordial, pulsating red in our wombs, opening empty hearts to let in the elements, tastes and smells of your treasures. You declare yourself, spark spectacularly, play like comets, stronghold of mystery, a raconteur, you spin eternally, no beginning or end. I'd like to end with this poem about the goddess, and the goddess is that I'm talking about is Kali, the dark goddess. And and I would like to thank Kathy and Dan again for this reading. And so here is my final poem. Where light shines even when there are no eyes to see it. I thought you lived by the Hooghly River, for that's where Baba and Amma took me to see you dazzle, your ebony and crimson form rising among the black rocks that plunged into the waves. But now I see you by the Hudson, swerving around my car as I drive into the city from my home in the belly of Paumanok. Others have spotted you slinking by the Nile, or rising with the fog by the Rhine, or even among the rivers rushing toward Patagonia. I thought you only breathed among hibiscus and jasmine, but now among wild roses and forsythia, you remind me you thrive among weeds whose names I've yet to learn. Cremation ground dweller that you are, so now I chant the rosaries of the forgotten, count them among the unfathomable. I thought you lived only among Bengalis, but now I see you in every sphere, the planet a mere step stool in your vast room. But you come when I summon you, blue-black, naked, dancing in my vision. I cup my fingers around your light to spark mine.
That was great, Pramila. Just wonderful.
Thank you very much.
It's amazing how much richness you put in those 13 poems. Particularly appreciated the beginning. The biryani that's one of my favorite spices. I always order the lamb biryani whenever I go to an Indian restaurant. And just the journey you took us on, visiting Turkey and Palestine and all those different places, and looking at things, taking us to the drought, and also looking at things from the feminist perspective. A wonderful, wonderful journey that you took us all on, and just a
Thank you
beautiful,
very much.
beautiful ending. So, and we look forward to bringing you back for an encore. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the open read. And
Can we give Pramila a nice
oh
round
yes.
of applause?
So everyone take your I can't do it myself, but if you take yourself off mute, you can applaud Pramila. Put your microphone on.
Pramila, bravo.
Bravo. Well done. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we can now. I'm going to mute everybody again. Otherwise, you'll all fight for the. Not only do we get you sound, we'll get you all your video camera. Your video image will appear rather than the person who's reading. So let's move on now to the open read, and we look forward to bringing Pramila back for her encore. So let me just share with you, for those of you who are new to us. So please, we've got a lot of folks who want to read. So please, only one poem. And short poems are preferable, but please no poems longer than 5 minutes. Please keep your microphones muted so we don't get the background noise. Kathy will close the program, and we will bring Pramila back for an encore after the open read. And we'll call you in groups of 3. And if I miss anyone on the original list, then we'll go back at the end and make sure everyone who wants to read has an opportunity to read. So the first group and please ask everyone to keep their mics muted. I see a couple of you showing up in the video, which means you got your mic on. So let me mute all again. Just bear with me a second while I mute everybody. Mute all. Okay. So you got to keep your microphone muted. Otherwise, yep, you're all now muted. So please stay muted until it's your turn to read. Okay, so the first group of 3 is Marvin, followed by Nicola, followed by Karen. So Marvin, over to you.
The title is Nancy Smiled at Me. She wouldn't read in class today. She closed the book and didn't care what Miss Moody would do or say. You'll stay after school. You'll stay with Joseph. That's me. Everyone calls me Joey, except Miss Moody. You see, I coughed in class and forgot to cover my mouth. Is that so bad? I just forgot. Helen, the lefty, Nancy's friend, came over the other day between innings of the punchball game. Nancy loves you, she said, and you turn red every time you see her. So that means you love her too. I turned to Nancy. The girls were giggling. She wasn't. Looking straight at me, she smiled. The bell rang, the class ran out. I started to get up. Haven't you forgotten, Joseph? And I don't mean covering your mouth and unleashing your germs to the rest of the world. You're staying today. Now both of you, turn to a clean page in your notebook Nancy, you write 1,000 times. I will read in class. Joseph, write 1,000 times. I will practice good hygiene. Do you know how to spell hygiene? I shook my head up and down. We started in, but just before we did, I saw Nancy smile at me as if to say, we'll get out of this alive. 20 minutes later, I looked up. Nancy was writing, her pen locked in her pink hand. I wrote 100 hygienes, then another 100. I shook my hand to get the ache out. Miss Moody was marking papers. Her pen came down on them and she made a gurgling sound. Nancy was writing away. I saw her cross legs and her little red boots, and I wanted to go over to her, even if I had to write into tomorrow. Continue, Miss Moody croaked. 40 minutes later, I heard the rustling of papers and saw Nancy at Miss Moody's desk. Hope you learned your lesson. You could go, Nancy. At the door, Nancy turned and smiled at me. Maybe an hour later or more, I wrote hygiene for the 1,000th time. You forgot a period after number 103, 467, and 892. It's what I thought all alone about your work. Careless, that's what it is. What would Mom say, I thought, as he walked into the dusk-filled schoolyard. It's past 5 o'clock. Where were you? What would I say? I'm here, she said, by the bike rack. It was Nancy. How come, I said. You know, Joey, you know. I took a hand, maybe she took mine. We walked as one past the summer bungalows, now empty, sand drifting into our shoes. Why didn't you read? You know, Joey, you know. I think maybe I do, but I'd like you to tell me. She kissed me just before the Palace Hotel. When I walked her back home, the street lights were on. Good night, I said. I love you, she said. Me too. I watched her go up the steps. The last thing I saw were her legs in those little red boots, when suddenly I realized I never asked if we had any homework.
Well done, Marvin. Thank you. Okay. Nicola, over to you.
Right, I thought I'd unmuted and I hadn't. This is just a little trite and trivial piece, something completely different to the sort of stuff I usually write. Just for you West Pondians, there's a couple of sort of slang words which I don't know, we are divided by a common language, so I'll just go over those quickly. Charabang is a sort of old word for coach. To feel peckish is to be hungry, but not in a sense of famished, starving. It's just more, I just fancy something to eat. It's a want rather than a need. And loo is a slang word for toilet. I think you call it bathroom over there. So just in case, so there's no confusion. It's called the trusty Charabang. We're going on a Charabang to see the mighty Rhine, to drivers serve our every need. It really is quite fine. The Charabang's luxurious with lots of things to do, and just in case you need it, it's even got a loo. We watch the scenery go by, reclining in our seats, and if we're feeling hungry, well, there's lots of food to eat. There's coffee, tea and chocolate, so rich and sweet and fine, but the tea tastes quite disgusting, so I'd rather drink the wine. For the bar is always open from breakfast until late, so for our whiskey, gin and rum, we never have to wait. The cocktails are all shaken and served poured over ice, with cherries or with olives, or a juicy lemon slice. At the back there is a gambling den for games of chance and skill. Here poker and pontoon are played by those of steely will. Our holiday's now over, and we've seen the mighty Rhine, so it's farewell, trusty Charabang, at least until next time. There you go.
Thank you, Nicola. Well done. Okay. Over to Karen.
Hi there, everybody. I'm going to be reading a poem that is in a book called Voices from the Valley, which was just published by the Locust Valley Library, and has a poem in there by Pramila as well. And it was edited by Patty Tanner. So, poem is called Maseko's Calling. In the Japanese engraving, the great wave leaps across its frame, controlled, fierce, suspended over dwarfed boats between a golden sky, deep blue curve of water, and in the background, the sacred mountain, regal, glistening with snow. The young woman isn't thinking of that image, an artist's vision of a storm centuries ago. Today, she carries her tsunami within her. The images flare and fade. You could say no one saw it coming. The great explosion, waves pregnant with debris, the underground splitting, shaking the earth with nuclear contamination and rubble, a floating world without anchor, a warning long ignored, seen by a child looking down from her hillside. Today, aged into her sorrow, she dons her monk's black gown, white hood, smiles her luminous smile, follows the procession through the temple's dark space, emerges radiant with hope. Her multi-folded robe, like origami birds, flutters and flaps as she moves through the crowd, holding fast to her father's blessing, her mother's love, the fleeting caress of well wishes, and all things she can see and touch.
Thank you, Karen. Well done. Okay, the next group of three is JR, followed by Mike, followed by Nemrita. So JR, Mike, and Nemrita. JR?
Super. Thank you, Pramila. That was wonderful. It was a journey of words, emotions, places, just terrific. Thank you. And thank you, Dan, and thank you, Kathy. You're keeping us in poetry. So Tuesday night, I debuted my newest book, 25 Friends Forever. These are 24 poems written in a 24-hour poetry marathon. And I made magic happen and make it 25 in a day. So Pramila, I'm going to ask you to play poetry roulette and pick a number from 1 to 25, and that's what I'll read.
24.
24. Okay. Okay. Hour 24. Little tired, just a little tired. Owner of half my heart, for Paul. Dog petter, crisper cleaner, bill payer, garbage collector, recycle bin manager. First chief cook, bottle washer, part-time sweeper, intern launderer, pooper picker-upper. Bug catcher, back scratcher, weed whacker, flag hanger, cardboard box mismantler. Electrical guru, head vacuumer, mechanical engineer, certified in plunger functionality. Dog chef, MapQuest, SUV pilot, MBA in remote control use, dog dad extraordinaire. Ladder collector, hammer holder, wrench, screwdriver, pliers finder, fixer-upper of anything broken. Rose planter, barbecue grillman, vegetable garden superintendent, avid eater, though he doesn't look it. T-shirt collector, deck builder, hair colorist, purple, always there when you need him. Poetry husband, unsolicited editor, finder of poetic darlings, draft reader, not a poet. 41 years of husband training, soulmate, life mate, my love, my Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, JR. Well done. Okay, Mike, over to you.
Okay, I wrote this last week in church. I ran into a gentleman, his wife wasn't with him, and I asked why not. She was always there. He told me his story, and I wrote him this poem. It's called Alzheimer. For better or worse, in sickness or health, I said I do. But she isn't the woman I fell for. She isn't the woman I knew. She isn't the woman I married. She isn't that woman. It's true. And yet I love her still. She doesn't remember my face now. She doesn't remember my name. She doesn't remember our children. She doesn't remember. That's plain. And yet I love her still. She knows that she is tired. She knows that she is weak. She knows, yet can't remember the words that she now seeks. And yet I love her still. I'll care for her body. I'll care for her soul. I'll care for all the little things that she cannot control. And yes, I love her still. I wake her every morning. I'll see that she is fed. I'll pamper her and comfort her and keep her warm in bed. And yes, I love her still. My love for her won't falter. My love for her won't fade. My love for her is evermore. That's the promise that I made. So yes, I love her still. Thank you.
Beautiful, Mike. Very, very moving. Namrita, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Pramila, your poems are amazing. Thank you so much. The poem that I'm going to be reading today is called Route 37. It's by the village where I am from in India, where my ancestors are from. It's called Route 37. I slow down at the intersections and for jaywalkers, steering a yellow cab during day shifts and sometimes at night. The boroughs, Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens, send requests to pick up and drop off their people. The streets at intersections meet and go their separate ways, squabbling among themselves and sometimes with me. By nightfall, I carry the day in my shoulders and in the back of my neck, and at times I glimpse you in the front passenger seat. 5 years now, and by the next, I hope to have made enough to return. We will walk through the wheat fields, you ahead of me, your yellow mulmul stole lifting in the breeze, brushing my face. The taste of sun-kissed sugarcane remains on my tongue. The chicken coop in the back where the hens cluck, nodding 1,000 yeses to the rosy dawn. The lazy cat, I bet, still turns its head away, annoyed by the daylight, covers its eyes with its paws, wishing for a bowl of milk. And when you hear my footsteps, you will hook the curtain aside with your fingers and run out into the courtyard, and we will take off and go to the next village via Route 37 and visit the temple, bells ringing, the fragrance of marigolds, red threads fluttering from the peepal branches, each one tied with a wish. I know beneath our bed you have a small metal trunk with newborn baby clothes and a pair of tiny shoes.
Thank you. Very well done, Namrita. Okay, the next group of three is Dan Kerr, followed by Melissa, followed by Joyce. So the next reading is from Dan Kerr. And this is a poem I wrote, probably 6 or 7 years ago, back when they had the big controversy about at football events, rather than standing for the national anthem, people were kneeling. It's called Why I Stand for the National Anthem. Here goes. When Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised black glove fist at the 1968 Olympics, I applauded their courage. I grieved the shooting death of Michael Brown, the chokehold death of Eric Garner, and the mysterious death of Freddie Gray. F. Scott Fitzgerald said intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind and still retain the ability to function. Whenever I stand for the national anthem, I am reminded again that The Great Gatsby is perhaps the greatest American novel. Why do I stand? I stand for Nathan Ale, who regretted that he only had one life to give for his country. I stand for the young men whose names I saw on the crosses and the Stars of David in the American military graveyard at Normandy. I stand for my mom, who went to the closet to kiss the sleeve of my father's sports coat when she missed him during World War II. I stand for my father-in-law, who caught frostbite during the Battle of the Bulge. I stand for George Bush Sr., who deferred his acceptance to Yale to fly torpedo bombers in the Pacific. I stand for all those home runs that Red Sox Ted Williams, the great hitter, never hit while he served his country as an aviator in World War II and the Korean War. I stand for John McCain and the many others who were tortured by the Vietnamese. I stand for my oldest brother and the buddies whose name he showed me on that endless wall in Washington. I stand for my nephew, who I used to give piggyback rides before he flew Black Hawk helicopters in Iraq. I stand in honor of unknown soldiers buried below monuments with the inscription, known only to God. When Martin Luther King had a dream, it was deeply rooted in the American dream. Dr. King said, if a nation is to rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, we must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. Disrespecting our flag and our veterans will not bring us together to do the hard work of racial healing and reconciliation. Affirming our shared love for the promise of America may help bind many wounds. I stand for those men and women who have fought and died serving our nation. I stand for Vietnam veterans who were spit on when they returned from war. We do not need to spit on them again. I stand for the national anthem and kneel before the crosses and Stars of David on that hillside in Normandy in France. Thank you. Okay, Melissa, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kathy and Daniel. It's great to be back here. Pramila, your imagery is amazing. Thank you for the gift of your words. This poem was recently published in an anthology called Unhoused, Yearning for Home. So in many ways, it actually mimics the themes that Pramila has been talking about. It's called Almost Like Memory from Matthew Shepard. In the harbor of my mind, you never entered the fireside bar. You ended up in New York and we meet at Queens College's Gay and Lesbian Union. We go to Pride together, marching in our parade. You've tied the rainbow flag around your neck like a cape. It's an easy day where breathers only blow as much as I want, alleviating June's newborn heat. We walk Manhattan, braving people's scowls, stares, and anxiety. Turn up at the Whitney's Hopper exhibit. In the elevator up, doors open on early Sunday morning. Its windows and half-raised shades seem open like eyelids, lifting from sleep. Long horizontal puddles of shadow cut and interrupt the street, paralleling the canvas. Silhouettes seem to continue past the painting, almost like memory can continue past what we think we know into what we don't know. You turn to me, nod, and add, there's a street like this in Morocco. We stop at the hotel room. A woman in a girdle sits on the side of the bed, hunched over, defeated. She holds a blank paper with horizontal folds. If that was a letter with writing, what would it say? You don't answer, just stare somewhere. I think it's a letter saying goodbye, yet to be written. Again, you're silent while we walk to the next work automat. This is one of my favorites. You see how the woman is doing nothing but gazing into her cup, focusing on her coffee, like it's the only cure to her loneliness. Look at how the empty chair across from her is pushed as close to the table as possible. See how she isn't far from the door, as if she's ready to go anywhere, to make a break for it, for herself to break into someone new and leave with the first person who comes in, just to not be alone. You add, her mind seems stateless, nomadic, trying to find an exit from her mind and the mirages anxiety creates. She is grounded by the anchor of solitude. I know what it feels like to not exist, to not be recognized as human. You sigh and continue. I don't feel like I exist. Later, in the museum's cafe, after reviewing the day, you open, like a letter that has waited years to be unfolded and read. I was gang raped in Morocco. One of them gave me AIDS. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, Joyce, over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity, for Pramila, to get to know you through your poems. Dan, your poem was very moving. And Kathy, thank you for organizing this. So this is a short poem I wrote a couple of weeks ago. It's called In My Life. Still have a to-do list of household tasks and medical appointments to arrange when these words swirl in my head, when frustrations no longer implode inside my head, but instead explode on the page, a celebration of life like fireworks on the 4th of July, when I feel like I will burst with overwhelm and anxiety like a pipe that's burst. These words are my release valve. All my life, and for the rest of this life, I am grateful that words come forth to remind me of a spiritual force beyond humankind, for the sun that shines today, for family and friends, for waking up each day, and miraculously these words, they give me strength to move forward with faith and grace. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very well done, and good call to put things in perspective.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Sue told me she'd like to sort of late edition, certainly an edition. Sue, go ahead. If you'd like to read, you go right ahead. Sue, you got to put your mic on. There you go.
Hey, everyone. It's nice to be here. It's such a lovely, summer is here. So, and this is what I wrote about the summer night. So I don't know what you remember, so this is what I remember. Night remembers. Twilight settles over the sky, a pale seam between warmth and dark. The lindens lose their sweetness, tiny white flowers drifting like slow, deliberate snow, each one falling into its own silence. Water lilies fold their petals, cradled in the arms of the past. A silver crescent flows upon the dark glass of the pond. From a reed, a frog chants a summer aria to an audience of one. Trees wave in the breeze, a faint and rustling harp, light slipping through the leaves. Night draws its curtain over the water, and your absence gathers. A quiet tide, taking the shore without asking. A road lamp flickers on, dim and low. I walk the path our feet once knew by heart. Now our footprints are gone, our laughter seen in the air. The roads have forgotten our whisper. The bench keeps our warmth no longer, empty and cold. Here, where the night remembers everything, without the shade of you in it. My shadow follows, heavy and long. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for reminding us that the night does indeed remember. So, okay, so at this point, we've gotten through everyone who put their, I'm going to put the gallery up here for a second. Everyone who put their name in chat who wanted to read got an opportunity to read. So if anyone else wants to read who didn't get a chance to read, okay, so we have Janet and we have Rose. Give me a second while I write these down. Anyone else? Okay, and then Kathy will go to you. So Janet and then Rose and then Kathy. Okay, So we'll go to Janet first, then Rose, and then Kathy. And let me just change the view here.
All right, thank you. That was beautiful reading, Pramila. I was very inspired by your use of imagery and texture and just the sensory experience of it. All right, this is one of my poems or readings. You could probably call it a spoken word more than a poem, but it's called Shores of the Soul. Grief passing through has a way of becoming us when we let it out. The welcoming of a friend opens our hearts to the universe of more. More isn't something you enjoy alone, yet with a friend, it lasts till morn. Grief is more than just a process or instrument or shout. The presence of a loved one opens our mind to the possibilities we once let go. Letting go of the no that once held us captive and so alone. Grief isn't a concept or an unspoken suffering to add clout. The integration of all the feelings into one spirit offers more peace with our acceptance of who we came to be with ease. In the in-between, don't let your dreams get dropped on the floor and stuck behind a door, because dust bunnies are never cute despite the name we give them. Given the time it takes to form, a dream might just come back to haunt you in a future unknown, where the times have driven you to numb yourself and escape. Great unknowns are only explored by those who wander and wonder. At all the here below, I wonder and wonder in the here below, in the now and then, in the ebb and flow. Caught between the present and the past, and the now and morrow, I thrash and crash on the shores of tonight. This earth is a school that I cannot fight, here below the stars and above the shallows. I sit with a hunger for all the morrows, realizing that happiness has always been in plain sight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have then Rose, and then before we get to Kathy, Jonathan has also said he would like to read as well. So we'll go to Rose, and then Kathy will pick up any others. We'll pick up any others.
And also Randy.
Randy, okay, we'll get to Randy as well. Okay, so Rose, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Pramila, that was amazing. Amazing, beautiful. Such a beautiful painter you are with your words. I loved it. I'm going to read a poem that was, some of you have heard it already. It was recently published in the anthology by Local Gem Press, is celebrating our 250 year birthday for America. The title is Our Country. Out of many, one, that is our country. One nation under God, a collective of many cultures, religions, races, languages, levels of abilities, people coming together in unity for a greater good, for civility, humanity, freedom, the American dream. Do we want some entity, foreign or domestic, designating themselves our king? Take away those ideals we aspire to as a nation, as individuals, as human beings? I believe not. Not in the past, not now, not ever. For the last 250 years, our country has stood for democracy, rule of law, due process, liberty, and decency for all who've come to its shores, a beacon of hope to the world. Out of many world nations, immigrants came to this land to help build its roads, its structures, its very soul. Out of many native inhabitants, nations of the Americas, those who were first here, who will ultimately surrender to us foreigners being in this great land alongside them. We owe gratitude as we unite to call this America our country. We are a country built with sweat and might by our forefathers, both men and women, all who fought for every right and freedom we now enjoy and are determined to hold on to. For our democracy is what makes our country a mighty force. Should we not be joining in camaraderie and reverence for all people? Is it not our differences that can be the unifying vein of gold that brings true strength to our beautiful country we have the privilege to call home? As we celebrate our 250 years of existence, we are reminded that this land is our country. It belongs to you, to me, to we, the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Okay, we'll go Jonathan and then Randy. Jonathan, you're up next.
Hello. This poem is called Really, Emily. Really, Emily, is hope a bird? A bird is an elusive thing. Will it perch upon my soul without an offering? Really, Emily, is hope a little thing with feathers, insubstantial, easily blown by weather, so in a slight gale the soul can untether? Really, Emily, if hope is a bird, then the strangest sea's current can shake me and rip me away, even if I beg, please, please don't take me. Poor hope, little bird, in all its fragility. Against such gales and currents, it has no ability.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well done. Okay, Randy, over to you.
This is called Characters, for lack of a better title. Hello, Pipers. Friday, 5:30, West Meadow Beach, as always. Bring treats and drinks to share. Rain maybe, cloudy maybe, fun time guaranteed. Steak sandwiches had been around since the 1800s, but the cheesesteak came into its own in the 1940s. Provolone cheese was added by Pats in the 1940s, effectively creating the modern cheesesteak. Locals swear by ecstablishments like Angelo's Pizzeria, D'Alessandro's Jim's, or John's Roast Pork. This invitation hits at the eccentricity to come. Bad puns, dad jokes, tangents, voluminous and obscure detail of everything from mushrooms to black holes, and statements like, my sunblock is not efficacious. My wife and I, the youngsters in our 60s, join our circle of 20 to 30, 70 plus friends who have been meeting for Friday, dinner and sunset for 50 years, we for 12. Visors, baseball caps, and sun hats, 50s smooth jazz playing in the background, mostly former scientists and teachers speaking of bodily ailments, home repair, and Play-Doh. Joe expounds on his meal like it was a work of art. Angus roast beef sandwich, fresh garlic, 12-grain whole wheat, toasted, sauteed onions, garden-grown tomato, organic avocado. He takes an hour to eat it. The meal becomes a meditation. He teaches me how to enjoy retirement. Joe calls his sandwich a proteinaceous slab of man's machinations. I keep a dictionary encyclopedia handy around Joe. Look, one of them shouts, and we turn to see a sundog, a cloud pointing toward the sun that displays a transcendent array of colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet, though mostly orange. Some take pictures, some praise God, some exclaim spontaneous phrases of poetry. Soon we pack up and receive the usual tips on how best to fold our chairs and many tables. For the first time, a tinge of sadness hovers, a lone cloud in the sky, as I learn that 4 of the women turned 80 this year. All spunky, a few proud, they married younger men. This is the most colorful cast of characters I've ever met, better than my favorite weekly TV series. I hope it never ends. Boom.
Thank you, Randy. Well done. Okay, Kathy, over to you. Kathy? Give her a second.
Sorry. I was saying that I'm writing a note to Randy about marrying younger men. So, well done. Pramila, that was absolutely extraordinary. I expected no less. And I picked a poem that I thought maybe goes with your work a little bit, but thank you. You are a marvel. I have a quick poem called Tragedy of War. Seems to me war has kind of two perspectives. One is the hurrah of it, and the other is what actually goes on the ground. Tragedy of war. Is it possible, before a city is leveled, bombs falling, free falling, exploding when making contact, buildings tall and small, private homes of sleeping babies, there is a fraction of even 1 second of beauty, fireworks creating a dazzling gold in the night sky, reminding us of campfires, melted marshmallows on sticks we ate as children, before smoke and fire consume everything, leaving us with a profoundly deep sadness as tinsel turns to tinder.
Well done, Kathy. Thank you. Okay. Pramila, can we call upon you to come back for your encore?
Yeah, thank you. That was wonderful, Kathy. And thank you again, Dan. Since I began my reading with American biryani solidarity, I'd like to end with this poem, which to me represents the best of America. Even in India, when I was reading Ralph Waldo Emerson and Thoreau, that is the America that I carried with me when I moved to New York. And visiting Concord and actually swimming in Walden Pond, I realized how close the Transcendentalists were to bringing the spirituality of the Vedas into their writing. And so in this poem, I tried to show that weaving together of Vedic ideas with Transcendentalism. Swimming in Walden Pond. I muted myself. Did you hear everything else that I said?
You're fine now. If we do hear the rest, yeah. Go ahead.
Swimming in Walden Pond. I stand in my teal bathing suit, in the pale dawn light, skimming the still water of Walden Pond. White wings in the distance, red and blue caps of swimmers cutting the pond's glass. Behind me, woods hiding stones marking Thoreau's cabin with its desk, chair, camp cot, a jacket hanging on a rusted nail behind the door, a lantern swinging in bottle green dark. I am up to my neck in philosophy, my toes touching its shifting floor. What else but to reach forward and swim toward the opposite shore, prostrate before Thoreau's God, nature talking to him, buoying him up with lessons of the spirit. I tumble and float facing the sunless sky, light breaking through knitted branches of oak. I span the Vedic admirer's secret joy above prowling water lilies, feel drops of drizzle, cool as pearls. Swimming back and forth, you would be lulled by his words, pond here. Be the best you can be, that you imagine for yourself. A day's earnings are enough to live on for a long time. The earnings from a whole week is greed. Listen to your conscience. Henry fades as the hour grows. I dry off, drift into Walden's lot, and claim the road back to town. Thank you.
Well done, Pramila. Thank you. Okay. Kathy, back to you to announce the next poet.
So, yes, that was very clever. Claiming the road and Walden Pond, fabulous. So we have Kiana Marks coming to us next month. She's a phenomenon. She is very young. I believe she's in her 20s, early 30s at best. She is the voice of the future of poetry on Long Island. The baby boomers will be gone in another decade or two, and Kiana and her ilk will take over and will be in good hands. She's colorful, clever, and I look very much forward to presenting her next month. Please tune in. So again, thank you, Pramila. And I have to say, I'm so sorry, but I really must go. I had a house full of people. There's a event I was double booked this morning. I'm going to leave now, and please enjoy the chat.